Okay, I'll let him know that.
All right, good deal. All right, so we did have a bunch of questions about Voyager and Slate.org, so just want to hit that first. Just to quickly go over the schedule for today. I lost my schedule. Real kind of basic day. We're going to be talking about Voyager, Slate.org first. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time just because I don't want to dig too deep into it. We may eventually have a whole training on Slate.org. If you really want, we can do a whole training on Voyager, all of that. Then we'll jump into security. This usually takes a little bit of time just because it's so in depth. There's just a lot of moving parts to it. So we'll spend about an hour on security, maybe a little bit less. Then we'll go into operations. So how do you train your operations staff? You know, what are they going to be doing? And everybody's going to be a little bit different, but what are they doing? How do you train your operations staff? What should they be doing? How can we kind of enhance and do some cool things with them? And then we'll be customizing our database. Then we're kind of done. So we're doing a half hour or a half day here today. You can all drive back to your schools, home, whatever you want. I'll be around from 12 to 1. I do have a 1 o'clock call with another school, so I do have to hop onto that. But I'm basically here until about 6 o'clock tonight, and then I'm shooting over to the airport. So if anybody is hanging around and you want to talk more about things, I see you already smirking that you're going to steal me.
I'll show you my whiteboard room.
That's awesome. But if anybody has anything that they want to talk about, go over, I'm here. So anytime after like 2 o'clock to about 5 o'clock, feel free to snag me. So I can either stay here, we can go to the lobby of my hotel, we can talk there, or lobby of your hotel if you want to do that, I don't care. Or just hang out here in the lobby or conference room or whatever. So just to give you a kind of brief overview of the day. All right, last housekeeping thing. I have a bunch of my cards up here. If you want to steal one, by all means, go ahead. You can always shoot me an email, call me, and then we can always work out. If we want to work together, we can get things going there. So, all right, I do want to show you Slate.org, or I'm sorry, first I want to show you, what was I going to show you?
Voyager.
Voyager, thank you. So there are a couple setup things that we were working too quickly yesterday that I wanted to show you that I didn't get to go to in depth. So when we're doing Voyager, the first thing that you have to go to is the Slate Temple Library. And this is something that you only have to do once. So it's the Slate Temple Library Legacy tool. I also realized my head's been in front of this thing the whole time, so I apologize on that. So for this side of the room, that's my fault. Again, you should just yell at me. So within the Slate Template Library, if we just look for ACS, there are two things that we want to download. There's the ACS data and also the ACS data standard exports and ACS data filters. So just hit add on each of those. When you do add it, you have to add it to the base of geography. So that's kind of your first step. You only have to ever do that once. You'll load it into your system. You never have to touch it again. If you're impatient like me, best to just
trying to vaguely do this in real time. Trying to vaguely do this in real time and also take notes. So
yeah, so why don't you just do it now? Make it easy on yourself. So Slate Template Library, bring over just search for ACS, bring over your exports and your filters for ACS data, and just hit add on each of those.
Okay, so I've got ACS data. I don't see ACS filters.
Go down a little bit. It's in the standard query filters. It's about, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down.
I'm actually seeing, oh, I see what, it just says ACS data.
Yeah, it's in the very standard filter. So just type in ACS, you'll be able to search for get both of those.
Add, and the base is supposed to be geography.
Correct.
But I don't have a geography base.
I do not either.
Interesting. Okay, well, let's go there. So if you search for your query base of geography in the Slate Template Library, let's add that first. So that's probably one of those things that I added a while ago that I didn't tell you to add.
Query base is geography. Hey, looky there. And so I just add it. I just make it active.
Yep, that's all you have to do.
Active and save.
What read permission would you recommend we give to it? It's telling me it has to have one.
I have to have a read permission. That's interesting.
I get that whenever I do anything here in the template library. I don't know why, but
That's a difficult one because I don't know your permissions, but I would give it to whatever permission people are going to be using the Voyager.
Can I just give it to like administrators or something like that?
You might want to just do admin or admin all access or something like that. That might be a good place to start, and then you can always adjust it later on down the road.
I know.
So where that goes then eventually?
So this is just to read the geography.
This is to tie the ACS data to then your base, because what it does is it takes your geography, it takes the geographic location, whether it's longitude, latitude, zip code, or might be country. I can't remember the other filter, and compares that to the data on the ACS table. Let me just look for let's look for your bases. So the other legacy tool that it ties into, and this is kind of where you're going and touching old slate, it then lives in this query basis section. So if you ever need to change the, not logic, sorry, my brain's still waking up, the security on it, go to your query basis legacy tool, and you'll see geography here. And then you can always go ahead and change your read permission. I have it as query on mine. So if you have query access, you can access this. You may want to lock it down to admin all access or anything like that. It's up to you.
Query works for me.
It's one of those, it's pretty benign. Like you're not going to get secret data or anything like that and, you know, expose something you're not supposed to be exposing. But then that lives then in query bases. So geography query base, you may need to refresh a whole bunch of stuff. So you may need to refresh your fields and your prompts and all of that if you're not able to see it then when you download your ACS data, exports and filters.
I saw somebody in a community conversation a couple of weeks ago hit a refresh the core 4 button. Have you seen them do that? Is that something that...
Was it one of our people?
No, it was like Max or Karen or somebody with Technolutions. I was like, what is that button?
There is, you can write a script. I'll say it this way. You can write a script and store it. I think it's stored in JSON, and then save it in your, what is this? Your bookmarks.
Oh, okay.
And it will run that script and refresh literally everything. It'll go and refresh your prompts, your fields, your this, your that. We have somebody on our staff that built one that wasn't necessarily supposed to build one, so we're not supposed to share it with people, but it's a script that refreshes.
What are you hiding this from us?
Everything.
Yeah.
I'm hiding it because we're really not supposed to do it. It's kind of breaking what Technolutions does, but if you're able to look at the script that runs behind all the update fields, update prompts, update select type library, update configurable joins library, and update everything, it's kind of a refresh all. But if you just remember to update those 4 or 5 areas, you're good to go.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
Are we good with loading the ACS data in first?
Yes.
From STL, cool. So you may need to refresh your STL. And then if you go to your Voyager, so this is why it wasn't working yesterday. So if we go to Voyager, I don't want to show you my stuff yet. We're going to then create our layers and then tie our query to our layer. So if we go to edit layers, we're going to create whatever layers you want. I just created 2 basic ones, one called inquiries, one called applicants to start. These are going to be our pins that we're going to show, that are going to be those circles that we're going to show on the map of where all our students live. You can get as crazy as you want with these layers. So if I build a layer, let's just do a new layer for the heck of it. Let's just find out where, this will be just where Darth Vader lives. So if I do configurable joins, records, person, I'm just going to do a person base. You could do an application base. You can pick whatever base you want. If you want to look where all your schools are, you can do it maybe person base tied to organization or tied to schools, or you can just look at organizations, just see where all the schools are in the country. Most of mine are person based. Orders required, fine, 3. All right, so we're gonna build kind of the basic setup and save. And then if we look at my new Darth Vader one here, and we hit edit query, brings up our query tool. This is what we're used to seeing. Filtered. Let's see, name contains Darth. There we go. We're just gonna make it real simple. So I'm just searching for whatever my filter criteria is. You may want to say, give me all people where their person status is prospect and they're interested in term 2024, or give me all people that are interested that are person status of prospect or inquiry or app, or you know your query, and you can add in whatever query filters you'd like. The key for your exports is you do have to just bring over the zip code, or I think possibly county. Let's just go with zip code for a moment because I know that one works. So if you're doing your exports, you want to bring over your postal. And then you also want to just determine what postal code you want. Do you want it by rank overall, permanent address, home address? You know, again, we talked about that. You determine what you'd like. I'm just going to bring my rank 1 overall postal. I'm just going to rename it just zip to make my life easier. So now we have our zip code of Darth Vader. And I'm gonna also I can bring over whatever additional exports that I want for the person if I want to see that. So I might just bring over name, reference ID, age, you know, whatever I want to bring, banner ID. So I can bring over any exports. And the last thing that we'll want to bring over is our ACS data that we want to export. Where is it now? System. Literally just did it. Let's look at my other one. Layers, inquiries, edit query. Nope, I'm sorry, that's all we need to bring over. So we just need to bring over at least a zip code. You can bring over person name, other information that you'd like.
I'm still getting the error.
Yep, you probably are. So there's one more step that you have to do.
Okay.
So you've edited your query. If you look at your layer here, it's going to give you an error that says this layer requires a location configuration. You're probably getting that.
No, I'm getting the error you were getting yesterday, and errors occurred retrieving these results.
On your query? Okay, so there might be just something built weird in your query. So as long as you have your zip code, you can bring over some additional information. Let me show you how to connect it then. And you go to edit layer on the layer you just created. I'm just gonna pick, and we'll go black for Darth Vader, how about that? You can pick your color, you can pick if it's a marker or overlay. For this example, we're gonna do marker. Default visibility, on or off. This determines, do you want it to show when you first open your Voyager, or do you want to be able to just toggle it on first with it being off as a default? Order, just what order they show up in your list. Your location export, this is where you're going to say my location export is my zip code from my query. So I'm going to grab that zip code from my query, and my location type, it's a zip code. The other one was geocode. That's the option you can use. So you can use zip code or geocode. I prefer zip code for this instance. We're going to save that. So now if I go back to my Voyager, I should see that Darth Vader lives right over here. And you can see my other ones. These, the green dots are where my inquiries live. The red dots are where my applicants live. And Darth Vader lives in the little black dot here. Have we gotten to that point, at least for the people who are trying? No? Let's take a look real quick.
So my query, I'm just trying to get the first layer. My query is returning 6,100.
Okay, that looks great.
Yeah. And so then we come back to edit layers. I've got no errors. If I look at there, zip code, it's a marker, it's on.
That looks good.
Drop this on a homepage report.
Error has occurred.
And so if I come here, look at query bases.
Did you refresh all your stuff?
Yeah, configurable joins, prompts,
Okay.
fields. What's the other one?
Fields, prompts, configurable joins, and the STL, Slate Template Library. Try refreshing Slate Template Library.
But if you click on our mark,
That's one of those ones that it's right at the top there. That's one of those ones that's like the old school one that because we added it through the STL, you may not have done that or may not have
That's probably
implemented it.
yes.
That's probably the error. And that's what I ran into yesterday. I forgot to do that. All right.
Thank
so-
you.
Yep, no problem. So now you have your layers, or I'm sorry, your markers. So we've figured out where do our alumni live, where do our applicants live, whatever we're trying to put on our map. We go back to edit layers and we create one. I'm just going to mess with this one. We create one and put it as an overlay. So you can create a new layer, just call it overlay or make it an overlay rather than a marker. You'll do the same steps, build your query. But when you build your query for an overlay, you'll export zip code. Here, let me just show you what the exports are. So you're going to export and you're going to see this section called ACS data for the overlay and details. So for the details, we're going to export either our zip code or our geocode, depending on which one you want to use. I like zip code. I think it's cleaner for this purpose. Any other time you ask me about zip code, I'll tell you I hate it. But for this, I like zip code. So pull in your zip code and then pull in your ACS data value, wherever it is here. So your ACS data value, you'll then configure additional information in a moment. So once I hit save, let's say zip code and data value came over. I'm going to turn this one off. Then I can click in here, and then this is where I can pick whatever data point from the US Census that I want. Give me people that are 0 to 5 years old. Give me people that are 65 to 75 years old. So if I want to see, this is a high percentage of people that are 45 to 54 years old. This is a high percentage of people with a bachelor's education. This is a high percentage of people with at least an associate's degree. This is a high percentage of people with 0 to 10,000 income, 75 to 100,000 income. So you can kind of pick your poison here, and you can also create multiple layers if you'd like. Give me people that are below the poverty line. You're doing a Pell outreach and you want to see where do people that live that are below the poverty line. You can see their median household income, their per capita income, the percent that speak English in the area, that speak Spanish. Where are our high population counts? Where do our veterans live? So where are high populations of veterans? So you'll see the military bases blow up all over your, well, that's about an example. You'll see the military bases really turn red all around the US. So you'll be like, this is where the high percentage of veterans live. Hispanic, non-Hispanic, Black, white, Asian, all that, male, female. So you can pick any of this US Census data that you'd like. And I believe it does update every time that there's a US Census. I believe it does. Don't quote me on that, but I think it does. So pick your poison there. For this example, I did age 25 to 34 years old because maybe you're looking at continuing education programs or something like that. So I built this in my layer. I want to go back and configure it then. So you go back and edit your layer. Say that your location type, or I'm sorry, your location export is your zip code that we exported in our query. And your location type is US zip code. Now here you can also do it by country, state, and zip code. I don't know if country really works because it's just US Census data, so I don't know how that really configures. But you can look at US state, so if you just want to look at it statewide or zip code wide. And then lastly, pre-selected value, you're bringing over your ACS data value. So then you'll see your map light up like a Christmas tree. And as you zoom into different areas.
The Grinch stole my Christmas tree, just for the record.
I'm so sorry, we can take a look at that.
For real, it's still not working, same error. I even trashed the query and started a new one.
So let's say we'll take a look at it then. But if I hover over like the Los Angeles area, I see this is where a bunch of my people live. This is Darth Vader over here. But I can see based on my ACS data value, and I should have named this better. I should have named it people aged 25 to 35. I think what my filter now even is. But this is my high population of people in that 25 to 35 range. These are my low populations. So if I zoom out, let's go to Florida. So we're not going to see a lot of high population of 25 to 35 years old. There it is.
We nerd out for hours on that.
Oh, West Palm Beach.
It's a whole day. My hometown.
So let's see if it takes a second to load because it has to load everything. But you'll see that there's a higher population of that 25 to 35 within the city limits of West Palm Beach. But as we get out a little bit, these are probably our retirees. So they're living out here in the suburbs of West Palm Beach. If we zoom out a little bit more, you can see a little bit more of Florida. So you can see this is where the older people live. This is where those 25 to 35 population people live. Let's go a little more close to home. It's Missouri, Tennessee. Let's just pick on Nashville. Nashville's a booming area. You can see that the western side of Nashville and kind of the northern side is where the younger population lives. If we get down into here, Brentwood, that's where the older population typically lives, or down here in Kingston Springs. So again, you can pull in all sorts of data values, high income, low income, Hispanic, Spanish speaking, non-Spanish speaking, and do your overlays. So pretty cool data to take a look at if you get it to work. So again, the knowledge base article is pretty good about walking through all the steps. The biggest thing that it doesn't do is tell you have to download that geography database or data set and download the two ACS from the STL. The last thing on here you can do is you can actually just look at your data too. So if I zoom out, let me try to find a place where somebody lives. And people are highlighted on my map, I can see who those people are in my data list here. So if I look here, I can see, oh, you know, there are 3 people here and 3 inquiries and 2 applicants. And I click on my inquiries. I'm sorry, I click on my inquiries tab over here. Here are my 3 inquiries. It's Ralph, Aaron, and Landon. If I want to look at my applicants, I can see it's Catherine and Max. And if I click on my Darth Vader tab, Darth Vader doesn't live in that area. So I can then find out more information about those people who live in this area. So fun stuff. So that's Voyager. It's one of those lesser used areas of Slate that is just a really cool tool to have in your admissions toolbox or alumni toolbox. So again, this is good for alumni. So you're recruiting alumni to donate more money. And let's just say this is our income level one. I may want to pull these people here in West Virginia because there's a lot of money sitting right there, but maybe not a lot sitting out here. So I want to do my recruitment in this area for donors. So lots of fun stuff you can do there. Let's get rid of that. Slate.org, I'll touch on briefly. My friends at Jackson aren't here, are they today? No, they left me. Oh, I'm sorry.
Hello, I'm here.
I'm sorry. You blended in with everybody else. But you're sitting in the same seat, so I don't know. All right, so I'm going to pick on Jackson just because in my Slate instance, I can't access slate.org because I'm not an institution. I don't have a .edu email address. So it's kind of asking me to say, hey, you're not an institution, you can't touch this. So they try to keep it locked down. So let me pull open Jackson if you guys are okay with it. I won't actually set it up per se, but I'll show you the setup process. And if you don't want me using you as an example, just tell me.
Sure, help yourself.
I just know you guys so well, so I figured you'd say yes.
Good.
I'm not security administrator.
I think they just told you no.
They did just tell me no. All right, well, Jackson doesn't like me anymore, apparently. All right, my friends at Columbia aren't here today. I'll pick on Columbia. So I won't actually set them up because I don't have their permission yet, but I don't think they would care if I did, but I'll just use it as an example. So if we go to slate.org, settings in your configuration, this is where you just have to configure a few things. Kind of like some of the other things I showed, left to right, top to bottom. So in this example, we're just going to work left to right. Other times we'd work top to bottom. But if we kind of just click through each of these tabs, I'm going to ignore my overview and my preview first and just go to rounds. First thing you have to do in slate.org is set up what rounds do you want your slate.org users to access. And this is where, when we go back and we first talk about applications, having that one active, one inactive round really makes your life so much easier. That way in slate.org on a yearly basis, you're not having to say, add the 2025 round, add the 2026 round, add the 2027 round. So again, makes your life easier. So here I have 2 rounds in my Slate instance at Columbia. I have my active round, which is my Columbia State, and my inactive round. So this is where you would just determine, do I want to share my inactive or my active round with slate.org institutions? If I say yes, I'll say share with slate.org institutions. I can call it something other than Columbia State application. I may want to call it current active applications or something that would make sense to my end user. Let's see here. I can display a deadline. You guys aren't going to have deadlines, so we don't have to worry about that. And I can also do further filtering here if I'd like. So maybe I only want to show submitted applications in my active round. I can filter it for submitted applications only if I want. So you would set up your round that you want to share. And if we look at our overview, that's our first warning. It's saying, hey, you have to share a round. And the next one we want to do is share what statuses we want to show. Do we want to show slate.org users people with a person status of decided? Do we want to show slate.org users the awaiting confirmation, the decision made, awaiting materials? So this is again where you just click through and say, decide if you want to share or not share with slate.org users. And again, you can again name it something that's pretty for the end user's side. Going a little bit further, you can set up your checklists and decide I want to share my checklists with my slate.org users. And if I do not hide checklist items, so the default is do not hide checklist items, but I can also hide checklist items if the record has an unshared release decision. So if I've made a decision on somebody, but the decision has not yet been released, I can hide the checklist items for slate.org users if I want. So I'll give you just some configurability here. Most of the time, if I'm setting up slate.org, and I don't do it for most schools in their first year, I would set up their round, activate that. Statuses, again, this is up to you. You may want to have your slate.org users see only people who are decided, or only people who are awaiting decision, awaiting materials, awaiting decision, and awaiting and have been decided. Or maybe you want them to see everybody, that they've started an app but not submitted it. So then your school counselors can go and harass the student and say, I just signed on to slate.org and I see that you started your app, but you didn't submit it. Get on it. So you can then see, display that for your slate.org users. You can go as in-depth as showing specific materials to the end user or to the slate.org user. And that's just going through each of your materials here. I'm going to pick on final transcript and saying share or don't share. And then also you can rename it for your end user. So you could just say final transcript or final high school transcript or what have you for your end user. And then lastly down here, you can allow, what is this one again? Allow counselors to have the ability to assign transcript or counselor recommendation. Yes, so they can upload the material and you can decide that you want to accept a transcript from a slate.org user, but you don't want to accept a final transcript. That has to come from parchment or paper form or something like that. I don't know why you want that, but you can decide, do you want the Slate end user, slate.org end user to upload any of these materials into your instance. decisions. What decisions do you want to show? So do you want to show admitted decisions to your slate.org users, so your school counselors? Do you want to show if they've been denied? Do you want to show if they've been withdrawn? What decisions do you actually want to share? So you hold the power in all of this. You're not letting them into your Slate access. You're showing them information that you want them to see in their slates.org instance. Then we get into advanced. This is an area I don't play into that often. Application sharing is active. You might just want to click through each of these individually and go through those. So I'd have to look at those advanced ones individually. And then same with terms. This is, I think, a newer one. This is one I don't play with that often as well. They opt into sharing, receiving data through slate.org. Oh, that's just the terms and conditions. Okay, never mind. Ignore that. The last thing, and I don't have this set up, so I'm not able to preview, but once you have it set up, you can go to one of your applicants and you can then preview what it would look like. So you can see that right now the application is not eligible for sharing, so I can't preview this, but you can preview it for one of your applicants. So just something to play with there. Yes.
Have you seen anybody find a way to share things that aren't specifically an option? So let's say we wanted to use this as like a secure file transfer way. So somewhere we can put secure data, like midterm grades for dual enrollment classes or rosters for counselor and dual enrollment collaboration.
Yes, so you can create a portal for that. I think it's this one. And they give you a briefcase code too. So if you just look for slate.org application portal, so it will give you, this is kind of a good screenshot, it's not the best, but you can see like the academic details for that person, and we're exporting onto the slate.org section for that student, their intended major, degree types, same thing, class schedules, registration status, things like that. If you can export in a query because you have the data in Slate, you can put it on the portal here.
Does this integrate with the slate.org that they're used to going into, or is this a separate URL that they need to get?
It's the same one. So yeah, if they go to slate.org, this is kind of what they see on their screen. This is, I think, the screenshot I was looking for. So they see slate.org, they see, I think, their profile, their students, the colleges, the calendar, if you're sharing events with them, things like that. But then when they click into the student's record, it's a little bit hard to see here.
So this is like hacking the dashboard, like we add stuff to our record dashboard, we can add stuff to the slate.org dashboard.
Yeah, so you're kind of hacking the slate.org dashboard and saying, use this custom dashboard rather than the standard dashboard.
That's phenomenal.
So for Chloe here, we're hacking it and saying, okay, we're going to build this portal. We're still going to show the things that we want it to show, but we're going to put the checklist over here. We're going to put their registration status over here and whatnot. So slate.org portal is kind of the way to go. That, again, I would recommend. Slate.org is probably a year 2 thing for most schools. A slate.org portal might be like a year 2.5 to year 3. So the biggest problem I've seen with slate.org is school counselors, it's just another thing they have to log into, and they don't like that. So just getting them comfortable with it and advertising to them and saying, hey, we're using slate.org. Go to slate.org, sign up, go in, upload your materials, things like that. So the first step for you, if you haven't used slate.org, would be getting your schools on board with actually using it. And then judging what their user experience is, then building your portal to fit that user experience. Because I've seen a lot of people go, I just don't want to use it, it's too complicated. Okay, well, what do you want to see? Oh, I want to see on the dashboard their registration status, this, that, and the other thing. All right, I'm going to build that for you. So kind of customizing it to what your end users want to see. Because a school counselor in California wants to see something very differently than Tennessee, which is very different than Florida, which is very different than all over. So But I would go to your application portal here. I would take their briefcase just because I'm lazy and I don't want to have to redo work, take it and then modify it for purposes. Cool. All right, if you want to go any deeper into some of that later this afternoon, we can, kind of on a one-on-one, or if you want some help going through Voyager, we can go through that and look at exactly what's happening.